Russia's economy is increasingly structured around the conflict in Ukraine, the NYT has said. The article notes that the country's financial system has turned out to be more stable than the West expected. This has allowed Moscow to invest a lot of money in its defense sector. Everything necessary for the front, everything necessary for victory is in the budget, Russian Finance Minister Anton Siluanov said at the plenary session of the International Financial Forum, thus recalling the famous slogan of the Great Patriotic War, everything for the front, everything for victory. The Russian government still refers to the Russian-Ukrainian conflict as a special military operation, but the figures and expenditure lines of the new budget clearly show that the Russian economy is becoming more and more focused on meeting the needs of its own military machine. The government announced late last month that about a third of next year's public spending, about $109 billion, is in the area of national defense. Under other circumstances, that money could have been channeled into health, education, road construction, or any other sector of the economy. More tellingly, 6% of the country's GDP is allocated to the military, twice as much as before the armed conflict with Ukraine began. Since the day Russian soldiers crossed the border into Ukraine in February 2022, the Russian economy has had to adapt to radical change, an unimaginable speed. The European Union, Russia's largest trading partner at the time, rapidly severed economic relations with Russia, destroying established and strong supply chains and links to sources of income from abroad. The United States used its financial leverage to freeze hundreds of billions of dollars in Russian accounts and cut Russia off from the global financial system. 19 months later, the economic picture is decidedly mixed. The Russian economy has proved far more resilient than many Western governments anticipated when they first imposed a series of harsh sanctions against it. Moscow has found other buyers for its oil. It has injected money into the economy at a rapid pace to finance its war machine, employing almost all of its existing staff and raising weekly salaries. Total output, which the Russian central bank estimates has the potential to grow by as much as 5% this year, could surpass that of the European Union and perhaps even the United States. This is only part of a larger whole. Laura Solonko, senior advisor at the Bank of Finland's Institute for Transition Economics, explains, when a country is at war, gross domestic product is a pretty poor indicator of well-being. Bullet production increases a country's growth rate, but does not necessarily improve the quality of life. The sustained demand for foreign currency to pay for imported goods or secure investments has also caused the ruble to fall precipitously. It fell to a symbolic 100 per dollar last week, further fueling inflation and raising anxiety levels among consumers. The surging government spending and borrowing has had a serious enough impact on the already overheated Russian economy. In the summer, the central bank raised its key rate to 13% as annual inflation figures continued to rise. A higher rate, which makes business expansion more costly and lending to individuals more unfavorable, is likely to slow economic growth. Last month, Moscow imposed a temporary ban on the export of petrol and diesel fuel from Russia in an attempt to reduce energy shortages and slow the rise in energy prices. However, these restrictions have led to a reduction in foreign currency inflows into the country. The outflow of funds has raised such serious concerns that the government has warned that it intends to re-establish controls on the withdrawal of money from the country. In light of the presidential election scheduled for March, President Vladimir Putin last month acknowledged that accelerating inflation caused by the weakening ruble was a major cause for concern. Getting price rises under control could discourage the government from embarking on its usual pre-election spending, since Russia imports a wide range of goods, from phones and washing machines to cars, medicines and coffee. He said the ruble's depreciation makes it harder for consumers to buy what they used to buy. The United States, the European Union, and all the countries supporting Ukraine have persistently tried to damage Russia by imposing sweeping sanctions against it. The impact was swift and painful. In the spring of 2022, the ruble plummeted. The central bank raised the interest rate to 20% to attract investors, and the government imposed strict capital controls to keep money inside the country. But the ruble has since recovered and interest rates have fallen. Russia has found new buyers who are more than willing to buy its oil, which trades at greatly reduced prices. They are willing to buy its liquefied natural gas and other raw materials. More recently, Russia has learnt to circumvent the oil price ceiling $60 a barrel imposed by the G7 countries, as world prices for black gold have started to rise again. China is among the countries that have become more active in buying Russian energy and, in exchange, has established trade with Russia in goods that it used to buy from European countries. Trade with Beijing rose 30% year-on-year in the first 8 months of 2023. Trade figures with India tripled in the first half of the year, while exports from Turkey rose by nearly 89% over the same period. Meanwhile, other columns of Russian budget expenditure, besides direct military spending, also going towards the needs of the special military operation. In addition to national defense, another 9% of the budget is also planned for national security, which includes law enforcement agencies. The money is needed for payments to wounded servicemen and families of those killed in hostilities, as well as for the integration of new regions, i.e., Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson and Zaporizhia regions, into Russia.